Hello, everyone. Well, that's just not doing much. How's everyone doing today? Welcome to the stream. I am Robbie Rigel, and welcome to episode 3 of my home lab stream, day 2 on the Sunday morning broadcast. So for those of you who are joining me again, thank you. This has been a lot more popular than I thought it would be. But hey, I'm great. I love doing this stuff. I love talking to people about this stuff. So as always, if you have any questions, post them in the comments on YouTube or on chat. Since I don't have enough subscribers yet to get a customized YouTube channel yet, but we're gonna make that change. We're gonna make that happen. Since I can't get a customized YouTube channel name yet, if you go to robbierigel.com, I put a CNAME record in there that'll point you to my YouTube channel. So if we, pop open internet or our friend Firefox here, and we go to robbierigel.com. Yeah, I bought some domain names, people. And, that didn't work at all. Why did that not work? It worked at work. And this is another problem that we're having here. Moving along. Hey, there's the radio show. There's one of the 2 radio shows I used to be on. Why did that not work? YouTube, I think I did youtube.robbierigel.com. All right, I have no idea what this worked at work. This is why you should test things before you stream. Anyways, but this kind of points to, if you'll notice, when I put in a DNS error that AT&T wasn't aware of. I went to this special AT&T page because on this computer I was messing around with DNS settings, and I must have reset my DNS server to to my home router's HDCP settings. But that's because that goes into the first topic I had planned today, which was it goes into a little bit more of our first problem, not the first topic here. But if we pop back on Orion here, Orion is our hardware that our virtual machines are running on here. If I do git VM, these are the 4 virtual machines I have on it here. I've created these 3 here on the stream. During the last stream, I kind of ironically struggled. Well, maybe not ironically. I struggled like just creating a basic script to create these 2. But they're up, they're running, they're ready to go. You can find that on my GitHub page there, which is advertised in the lower right-hand corner of the screen here. All the scripts that I do on this show are popped up on the GitHub page. Anyways, if we do a basic IP config here, /all, and again, even though we're using PowerShell, all the basic DAWs commands that we're all familiar with will still work here. I was having an issue where when I was trying to join Orion to the domain that we just created, it was looking for it was defaulting to the IPv6 DNS server first, and it was getting that information from AT&T, and I could have just shut off IPv6 altogether through my router. I could have, but I noticed AT&T gave me a /48 to use all to myself from everything that I've read. So let's use that. Why not? So I didn't want to shut off IPv6 altogether. But I was getting, everything on my network is getting an IPv6 address through IPv6 link local. This is the link local IPv6 address here to my my home router, I was getting one of those for every single thing on my network. I was getting a Slack IPv6 on it, which is like a different kind of DHCP through IPv6. Again, like I'm not all that up on IPv6, but when that day comes, when they finally shut down IPv4, if they've been threatening for the past, 15 years, we'll be set with IPv6. And, it's also good stuff to learn because you very well might find yourself in a situation, especially if you're in, especially if I'm sure 99.9% of us are in the United States and or Europe. 99% of us, you're not going to be able to get a new your own static IPv4 address anymore. So you're going to stick with an IPv6 address. So again, AT&T gave my own /48, so we might as well learn the funs and the ins and outs of IPv6 together. I've had and I'm sure many of you also have you've had like the crash course in IPv6 while you're taking like Cisco classes or whatever, and it's becoming difficult to avoid. You cannot shut off IPv6 if you're installing Exchange 2012 and above, or 2013, whatever the newest 2012 and above. You cannot disable IPv6, so you have to and oh god, I was putting Macs on, if you're dealing anything with iOS devices on your network, if you've got corporate iOS items running on your network, IPv6, I remember having to go through, this was years ago, I remember having to go through some hoops because on my network, the iOS devices were all trying to default through IPv6 and doing stuff with IPv6, so I had to like shut out IPv6 in order, in all ways. And really, it's not, it's don't resist the change. Has always been my motto, especially when it comes to IT stuff. Don't resist change. You don't have to like it, but especially if it's starting to catch on, you might as well use it. And if people are gonna, if people like, Apple are gonna start, primarily using IPv6, and apparently AT&T feels the need to give me my own /48, we might as well use it, and learn it and embrace the hate. I don't know. Anyways, moving along. So our first topic is we are going to do some advanced virtual machine settings. There are some things that upon a virtual machine creation, or at virtual machine creation, you cannot script, or you cannot script really well. Maybe I'm sure I overlooked the setting to script these things. I'm going to take this so I'm not typing it over. We're going to move this over here. See, look how easy it is to do that. Anyways, so again, if I go over here to get VM, all of our domain controllers are shut off because we are going to make some settings changes to them before we boot them up and go into the wonderful world of Active Directory here. So we need to, so first of all, let's kind of take a look at this from just using the PowerShell help system here. So your best friend here is git command. So the first thing that we want to do here is we want to set up virtual memory. So are there any commandlets? I really am not a fan of that term, but so are there any commandlets that deal with memory in the Hyper-V PowerShell module? So we'll do git command. Actually, we can do git command noun, N-O-U-N, and then we're going to do star memory star, and then we're going to even choose the module of Hyper-V. And so again, PowerShell does their commands in verb-noun. So git command, the noun being the command, git being the verb. So you can select does something occur in the particular noun of a commandlet? And since we're dealing with memory here, we're going to look for the word memory in the noun section of the commandlet, and it's going to pop up two Hyper-V commands here: get VM memory and set VM memory. And here, so what we're going to do here is, first of all, I'm going to show you if you keep a constant naming system all throughout your network, you can do some great things with scripting in general. I would guarantee, I haven't done Bash scripting in a million years, but since I took like a Linux class a couple years ago, or Linux refresher. Anyways, I want to get that to me. Well, actually, no, I shouldn't say that. Anyways, moving along. So we have here get DC, or get DC. So if I do get VM and I do star DC star, that's going to pop up everything that I've marked as a domain controller in here. So again, so then what we can do here is we can take that and we can pipe that into get VM memory, and that is going to pop up the memory settings for each of our domain controllers. And if you'll notice here, what we're aiming at here is dynamic memory, or excuse me, here is dynamic memory enabled here. So this is what we want to do. So I would imagine if we went into the help setting, which is either get help, or it's get help is alias to man for manual, the Linux command manual, and we did set VM memory. It's going to pop up a quick little thing here that basically tells us how to use this here. Maximum amount per NUMA node bytes. And if you come across a setting here, now because I'm remoted into a machine that doesn't have a web browser on here, we can't do this, but like my favorite PowerShell command is set VM memory dash online, and it'll pop up the MSDN page for that particular thing. And I use that every day. I really do. But what we're going to do here is we are going to set up a dynamic memory. We're just going to use the command here, dynamic memory enabled here. So if you'll notice here, set VM memory has a positional parameter here called a virtual machine. So that means we can pass in a virtual machine object. And it's in bracket, or excuse me, it's in brackets over here. It's in brackets over here, which means it can take an array of virtual machines. And guess what returns an array of virtual machines? This guy right here. If I save this as a variable, it would be an array of virtual machines. So we can take this and pipe this into set VM memory, and we're going to go here to we're going to basically tell it to set dynamic memory enabled. We're going to set this to true, and press enter here, and it's going to go through that entire array. And if we scroll back up here, and I'm just hitting the up arrow key here on the keyboard. If we scroll all the way up here and we do get VM memory, you'll notice that now all of the dynamic memory is now set to true. And a couple other of differences here between the two domain controllers here. These two domain controllers are running Windows Server 2016 Core Edition. So it is basically what you're seeing right here. You only get a command prompt, like the Linux people have been doing for years. And so everything now in Windows Server is basically 100% PowerShell orientated. Even their new GUIs are basically running PowerShell in the background here. So another thing that we want to do is we want to see basically what. Let's scroll up here. Get command. We also want to make some changes to the processors here. So if we change this to get command and change our noun to VM processor, we can go ahead and do that. Actually, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this to save some time here. There's a command here that a lot of people might not be aware of. I don't know. Start PS. Is it start PS transcript or is it just start transcript? Transactions transcript. All right. So we are right now. It is so because I ran this right here. It is going to take everything that I'm doing now and it's going to save it to this text file here, PowerShell transcript, or and because I didn't set a file name, this is it's naming this particular file name this here. So I can take this transcript and I can upload it to GitHub, and we'll be able to use that also. That just dawned on me that I can do something like that here. So we'll just type in clear to get us a clear screen here. And so again, if we do git command git VM processor, it's going to spit out all the processors here, or excuse me, all the commands that deal with git VM processor here. So again, if we do git VM, because I guarantee you git VM processor will take an array of virtual machines here to be able to pipe in. So if we do git VM star DC star to get all of our domain controllers again, git VM processor, and press enter. You will see here that this is the basic information here of all of our processors on all of our domain controllers here. So on DC1 we have 2 processors, and basically what this means is this means cores. This is how many like actual hardware cores we have. And then, it's not processors in the physical processor sense. It just, this is how many cores our virtual processor and our virtual machine have. Anyways, moving along. So we're going to, there's a deeper setting here that I want to deal with here that the general list here isn't going to spit out here. So there's a command here called format list. Format list. And it's basically, again, if you keep, you just think of flowing this information here through a pipe. The guy who does PowerShell in a month of lunches, he's got a bunch of YouTube videos out there. He does a much better job of describing like the information pipeline. If you will. And if you're really interested in diving deep into PowerShell, PowerShell in a Month of Lunches is like the #1 recommended book out there amongst everyone. And it's where my core of PowerShell information comes from. And just sitting down and playing with it once you kind of realize all of the fun stuff you can do with PowerShell. I wish you would have it doesn't go into PowerShell events, which I plan on getting to in a future stream because PowerShell events are very popular. Anyways, so format list here will format the list that is outputted by. It will format. I gotta learn to stop pointing with my finger. You all can't see what I'm pointing at. Anyways, git VM processor here will take the information that git VM processor puts out, and it's going to format that list. This output here is called, or no, this is not a list. I lied. This is a table. It will output this in basically a table format. List is another format here. Is another PowerShell format. So format table here, and we're going to select the properties that we want here. So property, we're going to want the VM name, and then if it's recognized it before, it'll even tab complete the properties. We want the count, which is our processor count, and then there is a processor called hardware thread count per core. And if I press enter, that will spit out all of the cores here, or excuse me, the hardware threads per core. So basically, domain controller 2 and domain controller 3 are basically 2 processors that don't support hyperthreading. Is what this means in a nutshell here. And we're going to want to change that. And here, even DC1 here, when I set it up, it's got 2 cores but no hyperthreading. Again, we're going to change that here. So if I do the command, so if we look up the man page here for set VM processor, again, it'll take an array of virtual machines here. And what do we want here? Not maximum count per NUMA socket. Usually for the set command here, if a property is settable, you can use it here. And now I'm doubting myself here. But so we'll experiment here, because this is what you know. There's you really don't have to worry about destroying anything here. So we're going to do a set VM processor, and then we want the count of CPUs on these guys to be 2, and then if I do hardware thread count per core there, we want that 2 per core for all of our virtual machines here, or for all of our domain controllers. And that command completed fine. If we do git VM processor again, it'll spit out here that we've got all of our cores. And even if I do the format table here properly, we've got hardware thread count per core. And if I did that properly, so when we boot all these up now, these machines will now have a dual core CPU with 2 threads per core. And it'd be interesting to see what would happen if I added more to that. Maybe we'll do that later. See how much we can push this. 2 might be the maximum. It would say so in it. So it would say so in the documentation on Microsoft. But now I'm curious. And do I want to do that? Now we'll stick to this. I'll stick to my itinerary here. But now I'm just getting in that experimentation mode, which is why you have a home lab, because you don't want to be doing this to your virtual machines at work. So all right. Oh, one last thing here. There is also, for those of you who have dealt with VMware, there is the big giant PITA that you have to deal with VMware is VMware Tools, which is basically an application that runs on the client that runs on the client machine that basically communicates back to the VMware host or your VMware vCenter installation. We don't have to worry about that. That's one of the things I think is a bit of a plus about Microsoft Hyper-V is you don't have to deal with VMware Tools. They don't call it tools. They don't call it VMware Tools. They don't call it like Hyper-V Tools. They call it integration services, which is Microsoft's version of VMware Tools. And again, these are just kind of like applications and services that run in the background of any virtual machine, even your Linux virtual machines, even your Linux virtual machines that kind of give you some power, some control over the virtual machines, and it improves the communication between the hypervisor, between our host machine here, and the virtual machines that we're running. So again, if we follow our previous our previous format here, we'll just do git command noun, and we want to look up integration services. Oops, no, not, and I want module Hyper-V. Look at that. We've got a bunch of integration services commandlets here that we can use. Excuse me. So, again, so we can do git VM star DC star DC star, and we can pipe that into git VM integration. Oh, not Vim integration service, and it'll pop up a big table here of all of our VMs here and what integration services that we're using here. So we've got like the guest interface, the heartbeat. That's kind of self-explanatory. Being able to do remote shutdown, just kind of like the big thing that you kind of have to install VMware tools here. Time synchronization. We're going to get into time synchronization here when we get into FSMO roles here. We might have to save that for the Tuesday stream here, depending on how it goes. Guest services interfaces here it's off by default, but we're going to do that here. And then if you go to the reference web page Microsoft has here on their integration services here, they've got, and basically like the impact, you can shut all these off. And the impact it has on the virtual machines. So like your Hyper-V guest shutdown allows the host to trigger virtual machine shutdown, synchronizes the virtual machine's clock with the host computer, data exchange service. Let's see here, shadow copy. So again, this is a shadow copy here, which basically, I forget what VMware calls it, but basically if you run a service like Veeam or any of the other, what's the one I use now at work? Not BitTitan. BitTitan is, anyways. I'd have to look it up. I don't remember now because I'm not allowed to manage it. Because our people are very touchy about their backup systems, and I understand why. If our MSP is in charge of backup, and I get their hesitancy of allowing me to even have read-only access to it. But I have ways around that, which I will get into maybe in another stream, of how I can even monitor stuff stuff that you might not have access to. And if it's your lead sysadmin or your CIO and you don't have access to it, perhaps maybe you should second guess doing trying to get access to something like that. But if it's a MSP relationship, I push back a little bit more on those. Moving along, anyways. I like these guys though. They've got people who know what the heck they're doing, and they deal stuff, like creating virtual machines and creating, Active Directory domains. They deal with that stuff a lot more often because they have more than one environment that they're working in. So they deal with the rarer stuff a lot more. So I give them credit for that. But anyways, so one new thing though, so we're going to activate on all of our VMs the Hyper-V guest services interface. It's the impact is low. It's off by default. Here's even the Linux name of it. So they have their own fcopy daemon in there. I was actually curious as to whether or not this would work on Linux, but it does here. And then of course, so you've got your Hyper-V guest interaction. So we're going to be turning that on, but they've got a new one coming down the pipe here called Hyper-V PowerShell Direct Service. And it basically will allow you, so if we scroll all the way down here, it's in development here, but basically it will allow you to directly manipulate, directly change things on your virtual machine without having network access to it. So some of kind of I know if you go into the deep underbelly of the VMware shell, which, let's be honest, I don't. I think they've got some of those things where you can do that through a bash script or something. But I haven't gotten into that at all. I primarily operate Hyper-V through vCenter. because I can count the number of virtual machines I have in my production environment at work on one hand. Anyways, but yeah, so when that becomes available here, but yeah, it's under active development, only available on technical previews and later, yada yada yada. So that should be interesting to see come down the pipe there. But anyways, yeah. So if you kind of want to know, but anyway, so going back to the guest services, which we'll be enabling here, it basically allows a command here called a copy VM file, and if you're copying files to a Linux machine, that might be a little bit easier than trying to create your own than installing Samba and doing all that all that fun stuff there. So we are going. So again, if you've been following along here, you might already kind of guess the command here that we're going to use here. So we're still going to use git VM star DC star, which again just pops open all of our virtual machines here that I have in the name here are flagged as domain controllers. So we're going to do git VM, and we're going to do enable VM integration services, and we want to set, what is it? What was it called? Guest services. All right, I'm going to have to look up the man page for this here. Man, enable VM integration services. How do I turn on? Do I have to pass the string in? I have to pass. I might not be able to pipe this. I might not be able to pipe this because it wants me to set the VM integration service first. Let's try it anyways. So we get if we do git DC and we pipe in enable VM integration service, and then if I do, what is it? VM integration service. No tab complete. What is it? It's guest service interface. Cannot bind. Yeah. So here's what we're gonna have to do here, because it's not. I don't think it's cannot convert guest service interface to a type of system.string to type Microsoft Hyper-V integration component. You know what? We might have to Google this here. Enable VM integration service. So if we pop open here, the actual MSDN page for it. Let's just take a look at an example here. Okay. So they created little enums for their. They created little enums here for their integration services. So what are the enums? There are enumerations here. I still don't think we'll be able to pipe this because the positional parameters here, because it's saying I need, what this is saying is I need, actually it'll tell us here, it's saying I need the name of an integration service first. And oh no, right here, VM accept pipeline input. All right. And then it's not telling us the name of the integration service here. So we can do one of two things here. And these examples are kind of, so we can do one of two things. We can guess, which I might be willing to do here. And let's just see if it's called guest. No, it's not called guess. So let's see if we can figure it out, because this is a good example here of surprise Microsoft documentation not being 100% what we need it to be. So let's see here. If we do get VM integration services, and we do VM, and let's just do bworld dco1, because we have that set to true already. Hold on, get VM integration service. Oh, that's right, VM is looking for an actual virtual machine object. VM name, it wants the string of the actual virtual machine name here. So if we do this, and I do select star, by the way, this is a list, whereas the other, this is called list output. This is an example of list output versus table output here. So let's see here. What is it calling here? Name, ID, key value pair exchange. Do we see anything here that would identify what the string would be? Or am I going to have to tap out and use the GUI? I don't know. Should I use the GUI? So what if I just do get VM? Oh yeah, it wants a VM name. So let's do this. And let's do get member and shutdown component, data exchange component. Interesting. VM is, we've got a VM integration component, a guest services interface component here. All right, so this is what we want to turn on here. VM checkpoint ID, VM checkpoint name. So each one of these infrastructure components is its own object here. So this is what this is telling us here. So Microsoft Hyper-V PowerShell guest services interaction component. So this is its own object here that it could spit out. And I was hoping, let's see here. So how am I, if I don't know the name, I could do where. If I don't know the name, I suppose I could do where. Secondary name. Here, let's do this here. Let's do this here. So we're going to do integration is equal to get VM integration services, VM name, bworld-dco1. And so now this is going to give us a bunch of objects we can traverse here. So if I do integration, actually, if I do 0 here like this, this is going to give us a guest services interface. And what if I select star on this guy? Enabled, true. Okay, all right. So here's what we can do. Okay, all right. So this is a guest services integration object, right? Yes. All right. So follow me here. Follow me here. Guest services equals integration 0. Now, if we scroll all the way up here, VM integration services, let's see if this will do it. No, it did not like that because it wants a string. Hold on, what is guest services dot name? Ah. So let's try this, because that will return a string. Oh, that's right. When you dot select something in PowerShell, you have to put parentheses around it? Okay. To VM, okay, so it is trying to convert to type Microsoft.hyper-v.PowerShell.VM integration component. So we can solve this problem here. We can solve this. Guest services has the VM association anyways. Maybe you can just enable and disable to that. It's looking for like an actual enum name, and we're trying to solve for the enum name. VM1 has it enabled already. Welcome to the stream, NV34. And those of you else watching. So if I do, can I do git type data Microsoft .hyper? Now I'm just guessing, and I can end this craziness. .vm integration component. Okay, that did nothing. All right, I'm going to tap out, and because the Microsoft, let me just double check here to make sure that the documentation doesn't tell us, because it's looking for a specific name of a service here, and it doesn't provide me a list of the services. It's looking for something of type VM integration component, and oh, I bet actually here, if I do VM integration component, we Google that, I should get the .NET. I should get the .NET. Is this maybe this is someone here? Guest service interface. That's exactly what I've been doing. That's exactly what I've been doing. This is exactly what we did. Turn on guest services. Here, I will. Oh no, I'm on a. That is exactly what we've been doing. Microsoft. Here, or has it? Hold on, they're doing enable VM integration service. I'm just gonna VM integration services. We won't even. We're just gonna name a virtual machine outright. bworld DC02. This is one that does not have it enabled, and then the name is guest service interface. Watch this work. I swear that's what I've been doing. Well, we'll have to check the transcript. I admire your dedication. I would have bailed out on a GUI a long time ago. Yeah. Well, I mean, but so yeah. I mean, yeah. If I was at work, yeah, I would have gone to this guy a long time ago. Yeah. I would have. But we're learning PowerShell here, and how often are we enabling VM integration services? Anyway, moving along here. Welcome to the string, Nikki 4pin1. Okay, so these are all the services that I wanted to start. All right, God, the simplest things of that I have. Why no? Don't start Outlook. Why did you start Outlook? Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah. So okay, so starting back when I first started, what I thought would be a quick section here, we enabled dynamic memory on our two other domain controllers, and we added the number of processors here. So we can do, if I do git VM again, star DC star, and pipe into git VM memory. We made all of our VMs with dynamic memory. We do git VM processor, and then we want to pipe that into select, and we'll just do VM name and count and hardware thread count per core, and everything here is basic. And so now we've changed the virtual processors into the dual core hyper threaded virtual processor that I had on like my first gaming computer in 2004. All right, so that's what we've done here. So now we can take all of our domain controllers, which are currently off, and we can pipe them into start VM, and it will start all these virtual machines now. And if we do git domain controller, they're all running now, and this is the percentage of CPU that they're all using right now. And domain controller 1 is a full Windows 2016 server install, and even my remote desktop session here even started up here. So it's applying those new settings here that we did. And so it's because that's a full GUI. It's using a little bit more CPU than the other two, which are just pure server core installs. They're just pure server core installs. Now I got people actually in the chat here. I'm going to move some of my windows around so I can see the chat better. So anyway, so if I go into just DC02 here and boot that up, that's all these core these core servers are going to have. That's all you're going to see on them. With maybe the exception of Shift Control Escape popping up. Actually, not. Maybe you have to be. Maybe I have to be. You might have to be logged in, but I thought Control Shift Escape would work. So, anyways, let's move our domain controller over in here now, and we can work in a little bit more familiar environment here. Oh, Alt Control End. I'm glad I don't have anything hot control, Shift Control End here. So we will log in as administrator to our domain controller. Yep, that's right. The freaking numlock. I hate that. Like every virtual machine system that I've worked with always disables numlock, and you get numlock out of sync on your computer. Where was I? Typing in my password. All right, so here we are with our domain controller, and I have turned off automatic startup of Server Manager. So if you watched the last stream at all, our two other domain controllers, Actually, what I can do now is, now that this guy is up and running, I can do enter PS session. I can go into Orion, which is our VMware host here, and it will log in to a PowerShell session here in Orion. Oops. Oh, that's right. cc:// It'll do that, and it will show us, and we can do any of the VM commands that we did directly on our host. All the, it'll run all the modules that you have installed on that specific host and everything. Anyways, going back to the original problem I had when I was trying to configure some stuff off the stream ahead of time, is I discovered that my AT&T home router is like pushing through all sorts of IPv6 DNS settings. So what we are going to have to do here is we are going to have to set we're going to have to set the IP addresses of our two virtual machines here. So I'm going to create a VMs to change. I don't like short variable names, just like VM. For some reason, just VM seems like it's just too short for a variable name here. So I usually, and make it slightly more descriptive here. But the VMs to change here, we're just going to create a list here, bworld DC02, comma, and bworld, oops, forgot the quotes, bworld DC03, 03. And those are going to be the VMs that we're going to change. And we're going to use the command new net IP address. And then again, might as well pop open. Here, can I do this here? New net IP address online. And that'll pop it up automatically in my web browser. And this will basically tell us what we need to do here to create a new IP address here. And so it is going to be straightforward here. I'm trying to figure out how best to script this because I misspelled bworld. I'm trying to figure out how best to script this because we don't have the because it's not like we can add a number as we're looping through the two different VMs here. So this might be a little bit more rigid of a script than I would like here. But anyways, we're going to go here, new net IP address here. Yeah, I'm thinking how best to approach this here. So let's just start creating our variables here. DC02 IP4 address. And we're going to make that equal to 192.168.1.31. Then we're going to do DC02 IP4. All right, now we want to make this DC03 address, and that is going to be equal to 192.168.1. Guess what? It's going to be 32. And DC IP6 address. And I'll have to see if I have to go into my router and specify the IPv6 address. Again, so AT&T is giving me an entire /48 to use, so I'm going to use it. Let's see here. So what is my prefix here? 6460 40F0 : and we're going to do 31. So for those of you who aren't familiar with IPv6 notation here, so basically these are 4-character hex digits. So the lowest is 0000, and then the highest is FFFF. And then so there are 8 kind of positions here in between all the colons. It's a 128-bit address. So this is the So this is kind of the network prefix AT&T has given me. And so anytime you see double quote marks like that, it is zeros all the way to the end. So it is the same as typing out 2 more colons with 3 other zeros here, and it also assumes 2 zeros there. All right, so we're going to do this DC03 IPv6 address. And we're going to make that equal to, actually, I'm not, now that I think about this, we're going to have to know what network interface to do that on 40F0 : 32. And again, when we're keeping some kind of level of organization between our IPv4 addresses and our IPv6 addresses. All right, so we're going to run this from domain controller 1. We're going to run this script from domain controller 1 here, and now that I'm thinking here, actually, how did I do it in the previous stream? Prep 80 server here, is this where I used it before? Yeah, so network interface, we use getNet adapter and then .if index here. All right, so that's how I used it before. Oh, and I forgot to save the name of this script. Oh, well. I always do that with Visual Studio. Moving along. I just realized MV34, if you're still watching, I now fully understand your statement. It did have the VM association with it. And yeah, I understood what you mean. Yeah, and I was worried about that in the back of my head when I was typing it out because that particular variable had the virtual machine associated with it. I was a little bit worried about it messing something really up, but it didn't work anyways. So, all right. So we're going to use the command here, invoke command. And what this basically allows you to do is it allows you to send a command directly to a virtual machine. You know what? Now that I think about this, this isn't going to be able to work because these guys aren't on the domain yet. I haven't even added these to the domain yet, but I have to. Well, we'll see because I wanted it to create the static IP addresses before I added them to the domain. But we'll see here. All right. And then, so invoke command here invokes a command on another computer. And so it's basically the equivalent of opening up a PowerShell screen on that computer and typing in the command here. So, but you want to identify that with the heading script block here. And we'll go ahead and we'll create a script block here. And we're going to send here. So this is going to be DC02 here. So we're going to do new net. Oh, no. First of all, we want to this will create a local variable on that machine. And then also you can, through invoke command, you can send a PowerShell script directly through that. But again, you can send an actual script through it. I forget, what is it? Credential, session name, as job, script block, debug, warning variable, out buffer, out variable, pipeline variable. You can send an actual script through it. I forget off the top of my head, but you can pass through a script. But most of the time, I use my number one usage of this particular command here is if you've got a Microsoft Active Directory situation, or not Active Directory, if you got Office 365, I will go into whatever domain controller is running sync, and I'll run script block and do like start. I think it's start AD sync cycle. It's such a crazy thing here. And then I'll have it do a delta. So like anytime you do a password change, you have to sync it up to Office 365. But you can't install that. You can only install the Active Directory sync module on a computer that's actually running Active Directory sync. So in a situation like that, that's how you would do this. And I don't think I've ever tried this with a computer running Exchange, because I know like PowerShell Exchange is weird in order to get it working, and it requires some configuration. I mean, it has its own shell, which you should use anytime you're running, Git mailbox. But anyways, back to what we're doing here. So we are going to do the Git net adapter, and we're going to say that to an actual variable local on the computer here, and we'll just call it net adapter. We're just kind of repeating almost the same thing we did in a script in a previous episode here. So we're going to do git net adapter, and let's see here. How did I do that again? It was just git net adapter and if index. Yep. So we want to put git net adapter in parentheses, and then we're going to save that. And then we're going to do new net, or no, we want new, is it net IP? No, it's new, yeah, it's new net IP address here. And for our, or was it alias or in index here? So our if index here is going to be our net adapter that we created here, and then our IP address is going to be I just realized you can't pass variables through invoke command. I just realized that. Here's what we're going to do. I just realized that. You can, but I don't remember how off the top of my head. I'd have to look that up on it. Let's, you know what? Let's see if we can, oops, no, that's not what I wanted. Man, invoke command. Let's just pop open the documentation here and see if I can figure it out on the documentation pretty quickly. Yeah, these variables won't get passed through because this is like, if you're familiar with in other programming, I can't remember the term now in programming. It's not like a variable persistence. Like if you create a variable in one set of brackets, it won't be available outside of that brackets. Like if you create a variable in a function, that variable in the function won't be available outside the function. It's very similar to that. So these variables, this will be running on the actual machine, and it'll have no idea what those are. And did it open Which web browser did it possibly open that on if it opened it up on invoke command? Here we are. So open it up here on this guy. Input object argumentless. Let's see here. This is where you scroll down here to the examples and discover that, and to see how, oh, right there, invoke command file path. That's how you pass a PowerShell script through. You pass the file path of the PowerShell script. You know what? Let's change this. Here, let's change this, and we're going to run this. We're going to pretend that this particular one here is going to run on domain controller 2, and we'll pass it through invoke command here. That's what we'll do here. All right, that's what we'll do here. So we're going to instead, we don't want to delete everything. We're going to delete that, and we're going to delete that. And we're going just to delete that there. And we're going to remove invoke command, because that should be easy enough here. And hopefully it'll allow me to do that with just basic, fresh out of the box security, even though these aren't on the domain. This is where that new PowerShell, that new PowerShell module that they're scripting, that Microsoft's in development right now, that I showed earlier in the stream. That's where this would come in handy. So moving along. So we're getting our net adapter. We're setting our IP address here to our DC02 IPv4 address, and that is all we have to do right now. Right? What other things did I have to do before? New net IP address. Oh, prefix length. In this case, it's going to be, we're just going to, prefix length is 24. And is that all I did? Prefix length, interface index. Oh, and default gateway. Default gateway in this case is going to be 192. I should put this in quotes just to be safe. 192.168.1.254 is my default gateway. And then we will do this again. Another thing that we didn't do in that previous script, we want to tag here address family, and we want the address family here is to be IPv4 because we're setting IPv4 settings here. Oops. So again, here, net adapter, the IP address here in this case here is going to be the DC02 IPv6 address. Oops. IPv6 address. Not sure what the default gateway is. I think that's a link local address. You know, I bet you my router will tell it. Our prefix length here is in this case, is it 128 minus? Is it 128 minus 48? 128 minus 48, which is 80, or is it 48? Is my prefix length? I think my prefix length is 48 here. You can, you know, when we create VLANs, when we get to the VLAN section of this stream here, we're gonna drop this down to, this will be a prefix length of, I think, like 96 or something. Whatever it is, it's going to be 128 minus 32. Yeah, it'll be 96 when we start creating VLANs here. So that'll still give us a truckload of IP addresses to use. In fact, if you wanted to do like an actual 255, I'd have to look at a subnetting chart, but I think the prefix length would be 128, maybe 100, and well, we'll look it up. I won't guess on the stream. But this is my prefix length right now, even though I'm doubting myself right now. So that's set. We're going to leave the default gateway here. Oh, and of course we want to set the address family here to IPv6. Next, all right, this is where the trouble I was having off stream, kind of pre-creating this thing here. We have so the router I got from AT&T is broadcasting its IPv6 DNS server. We don't want to use that. We want to use the DNS server for our domain controller here. So we're going to go up here. We're going to create another variable here called DC01 address here. There, we're going to DC01 IP4 address. And that is going to be, of course, 192.168.1.30. And then we will change this here to an IPv6 address. And that is 2600, 1700, 6460, 40, F0, : 30. And so we're going to use the command here, set DNS client server address. And our interface index is, of course, going to be net adapter. And our IP, or our server address is going to be DC01 IPv4 address. And then we're going to do, again, set, oh wait, I want to set the family here. I cannot set address family here. That is because, well, set DNS client server address interface index. We'll just see if maybe this is smart enough and I don't have to set that information there. Maybe it's smart enough here. So okay, so file, save as, file, come on, save ps script 1 as. There, this is networking, and we're just going to change. We're just going to call this change IP and DNS info. 2. We'll call it 2 for domain controller 2. .ps1. So that's what we'll call this here. Can I duplicate? I know you know, if you're copying and pasting a 120, oh, well, /120. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's what I thought it was, because 8 minus, yeah, because we're subtracting 8 bits from it, so it would be 128 bits. Thanks, Nikki, for that. Yes. So what Nikki was saying is if I wanted to do 256 IPs in an IPv6 space, it would be 120, which makes sense because that is 8 minus 120. Because, yeah, we're going to change that back to 48. Yeah, and so then again, this is giving us 48 to the 8th or to the 2nd power IP addresses. That's how many IP addresses AT&T gave me, which is crazy. Anyways, I think it's crazy. I don't know. So we're going to right-click on this here. We're going to add new item. We're going to add a new PowerShell script here. We're going to change this. And we're going to call this change IP and DNS info 3. And We're just going to copy. And again, anytime you're doing copying and pasting in programming, any kind of programming or scripting, you're doing it wrong. But I'm kind of being lazy here in the sense of oh, I didn't even copy the right thing over. I'm being lazy here in the sense of brevity here for the stream. Actually, it looks like a /64 rather than a /48. You're right. I was thinking that too. Because actually, yeah, like this, it referenced a /48 in my IP or in my server information or in my router. I'm a little hesitant of putting my router info on the stream. You know, of course, I'm putting IPv6 addresses here, which, you know, are technically internet routable anyways also. But you might be right. You know what? I'm going to change this to a 48 or to a 64. I think you're right. Now that I think about it, NV34, thanks. Yeah, so I'm going to change that there. Set DNS client service address. Okay, all right. So we're doing this for 3 now. So we're just going to change our variables here to 3. Again, 2. These IP addresses are staying the same. These variables here are changing. And again, this can create a lot of bugs if you're doing a much more complex script or, you know, programming thing here. You know, if you're doing copy and pasting, you know, this just leads to bugs, which is why, you know, and errors, which is why you should never copy and paste like that. But this is a small enough script here. And again, for the sake of brevity here. So we're going to open up PowerShell here on my actual non-virtualized computer here. And Bob source repos. What is this called? Streaming? No, it's Home Lab Stream. And if we go to, again, Home Lab Stream, and we go to networking, you know what, I'm just going to open this up in File Explorer. There's the 2 ones that we created. And then I think I still have, so here, we'll open up this one. This one's also open to that here, but we're just going to go whack Orion dollars or $C. And I think I was putting, you know what, I'm just going to create a new directory here, new folder here, and we're just going to call this PS. Let's call this PS scripts. Again, I'm not a fan of like adding like random stuff to the root directory, but brevity and simplicity here for the stream. You know, if any of you else out there have your own kind of standards that you use for PowerShell scripting, let me know in the chat and or comments. I'm curious. Welcome to the stream, Bloxy487. Got a lot more people showing up on the weekend for streams than the weekday one. Maybe the weekday one is too late at night for people, but I'll try it again next Tuesday. I definitely did not have this much interaction on the Tuesday night stream. Well, Tuesday night US. Where was I? Yes. Moving stuff around here, moving files here. So I created this PS scripts folder here on my Orion host, and then we're going to copy these over here to Orion, and then we're going to maximize Orion here. We're going to go C:\PS scripts here, and it has to think briefly because I must have needed to cache that or something here. So we're going to use the PowerShell command here, invoke, and we're going to. I have a feeling this might not work here. So we're gonna do invoke command, computer name, bworld DC02. Oh, I bet if I did this here. Okay, we're gonna add another thing here. Credential, and we're gonna, in parentheses here, use the command get credential. Thank God for auto tab, or I'd never be able to spell anything correctly at all. I'm more of a Linux administrator than Windows. II stands for, so in the chat, NV34 mentioned II ... II stands for invoke command. So if you invoke, so it'll open up the default application for something. So if you did II and gave it an Excel spreadsheet, it'll open it up in Excel. But if you do II ... which basically is it's the same thing like doing CD backslash dot slash, or it's the same thing as doing that. So you're telling it to go to the previous directory, or if you just did dot, it would be the current directory. And since the default application for a folder is File Explorer, it opens it up in File Explorer. And it's great. Yeah, I love that little shorthand. It doesn't open it up if you're on an end user's machine. So like you're at Janice and Accounting's machine, and you do that. It doesn't do it under your credentials. So like one of the first things I do whenever I pop onto an end user's machine is I open up a PowerShell script under local admin. I open up a PowerShell script under local admin, so that way I can open up anything I want under admin. I can open up a control panel screen. I don't have to worry or forget about right clicking and everything like that. And then when you when you terminate your PowerShell session, all those things are gone, so to say. Like you close all those, and you don't have to worry about you leaving something actually open up on their computer in administrator mode, or running as administrator, running as a local admin. We'll get into Active Directory, ADDS stuff later on here. But anyways, so we're going to pipe in get credential here. And then we're going to do file path here, and we're going to do change info2 here for change IP address and info1 here. Now, when I'm remoted in, so the reason why I added get credential to this is because right now I am logged in as the administrator for Orion. All right, so if I typed in who am I, it would say local administrator. The local administrator does not have domain admin roles, even though these aren't in the domain, so this isn't going to work at all. Or did I? You know what? No. Here's what I'll do. No, I can do the local admin, which I had to create on all of these when I added all of them. So yeah, I had to create the local admin account when I installed this. So okay, yeah. So I'll use the local admin account for those computers. All right, even better. All right. So let's see if this works here. So to access a local machine here, and this probably won't work because it's not a trusted host and stuff like that now that I'm thinking about it here. So we'll do bworld -DC02 / administrator. But again, because this is a virtual machine and I'm on the virtual machine host, it may let us. We'll see here. Administrator, and then maybe? No. Hey, failed with the following message. WinRM cannot process a request. Error code while using Kerberos pre-authentication. There are no logon servers available to service the logon request. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So that's what I thought here. The easiest way to do this here is this has to deal with how credentials are passed through how credentials are passed from computer to computer. Basically, it's not trusting this stuff here because these guys aren't even added onto the domain yet. So we're going to go in here to DC02 here. And I'm actually going to have to do this manually here. So, oh geez, this is tiny for you guys here. Oh, good. That password is incorrect. Oh, you know what? I did an easier password. There we go. All right, here. So here we're going to boot up PowerShell here, and then properties, font. I'm just gonna bump this up for everyone here so you all can see it. And it's going to be tiny because I don't even know, you know, again, this is PowerShell core, so you're not going to be able to set like you're not going to be able to set you know, screen resolution size. At least I don't think. Anyways, so what do we need to do first to get this on the domain? We need to set the DNS client here. We need to set the DNS client client server address, and oh, I need to get net interface. I didn't have this scripted, so I'm a little get net adapter. Get net adapter. And why does this have two? Get net adapter. If index 1 or if index 1. Why? Get net adapter. Select star. Oh, this is just awful. This is just awful with everything so brought down, with everything so narrowed down here. This is just not. Well, sorry, I'm just gonna drop the screen size down a little bit more here. So hopefully we can see more. But this is not getting the information that I want. Enable default. Driver, oh, this is just too much information here to scroll through. Blah. MAC address, status disconnected. So that one is disconnected. We don't care about that one. Here, properties. I'm going to have to drop this all the way down to 12 here in order to do this quickly. Why is this? Getnet adapter. I'm having trouble reading this on myself here. Okay, so Ethernet if index 5 is up here. All right. Properties here. We'll blow this back up here so everyone can see it. Hopefully, okay, 24 is a little bit better here. All right. Okay, so why it doesn't start at 0 and 1, I don't know, but that's Microsoft for you. All right, so we're going to set DNS client config or client server address, and this is going to be if interface index 5. And then in this case, the server address is going to be 192.168.1.30. And again, we're going to type server address here. In this case is going to be 2600:1700: 6460: 40F0. Oh wait, I'm surprised that worked. : 30. I'm surprised it took that. Hold on, get DNS client server. Oh, DNS client CLIENT server address. Spelling is key here. Okay, so it didn't take that one here. So interesting. It's calling, well, because it's not a domain. It's calling my so interface index 1 is loopback, so that makes sense here. Interface index 2 here, it's what is that? Is that what Orion is resolving to? Anyway, so okay, so .30 here. So we set our okay, so we have our DNS server set to the domain controller. Huh, geez. All right. So that didn't take too long. Again, when you already have a pre-existing domain, this stuff is a lot easier to go through, without having to like set like, oh, this is a trusted client and this is everything and this is that and so forth, and like setting up WS-man settings and everything. So now to add something to a computer, to add a computer to a domain, it's actually relatively easy here. So we're going to add computer, and then the domain credential, since that's what auto-completed first here. Well, again, we'll do get credential. And then the domain name, in this case, is going to be Bobby's World, because that's the name of my domain. And so we're going to do administrator, admin, or no, we got to do Bobby's World / administrator, and my password for that. Oh, combining passwords. And it's thinking. It's taking a minute here. It's like, okay, the domain controller is there. I'm getting all like the domain service information in there now. It's adding it, hopefully. It's communicating. Hey, all right. Oh, I have another thing I forgot to do here. Or no, it's rename computer, I think. Yeah, rename computer. Let's see if it'll let me do this, even though I've already joined the domain here. bworld DC 02. Due to the following exceptions, the username failed to rename the computer to bworld due to the following exceptions. The username or password is incorrect, probably because it's on a domain now. So we're just going to restart. We're going to restart the computer here. And we're adding our little Hyper-V computer here. We could have restarted it through that as well here. And then while that's restarting here, that's not what I want. We'll go, oh, it's already restarted. That was fast. See how fast it is to restart a server core server with nothing running on it at the moment at all. Let's see here. Alt Control End. Credentials for administrators. Hit escape. to switch users here. So we want to press escape here. Other users. So we're going to do. So we're going to use. We're going to use the Bobby. Or no, oh, that's right. Because you're not supposed to use the domain administrator, because we haven't added any other users to our domain besides administrator yet. Windows will always default to the local administrator as kind of like a security precaution. Numlock became unchecked. Administrator. What the heck? Bobby's World Administrator. I really don't know why I used a complex password. Out of habit maybe. Because this is the primary administrator password here, which again, when we get to creating users, we will. We won't even use. Why is this admin? Bobby's World. Did I use the right backslash? I didn't. That's wrong. No, that time I knew I typed in the wrong password. There we go. All right. So we're logged into the server now, finally. We're going to go into PowerShell. And, oh, this is actually in the domain now. So we've logged into that. We can set up everything else now through DC01. So we're going to log off now that we know that those settings seem to have taken effect here. And we're going to repeat the process here. You know what? Maybe we will. I'll repeat the process for Domain Controller 3 off stream, just because it'll just because of size and everything here. So now that this is on the Domain Controller, we can. Or now that this second domain controller is on the domain, I cannot think and type my password at the same time. Apparently I can't stream and type my password at the same time. There we go. All right. So now that this is on the domain, I should be able to enter PS session bworld DC 02. That's because I did not name that computer. Let's see here. Get AD computer. I forgot to rename the computer. Oh, star. So these are all of the. So these are the 3 computers in our domain right now. Yeah. So I forgot to rename that computer. So here we'll go. Win ML8. Oh God. Numlock. Enter PS session. Win-ML8 NOAU7 H1 I'm not going to forget that when I do domain controller 3. Instead of the net domain. Yeah. Oh, thanks, NV34. How long was I trying to type in that password before I noticed you were telling me that I got the backslash mixed up? Yeah. So, yeah. So what NV34 is saying in the chat here, he likes to use the fully qualified domain name instead of the net BIOS name. Yeah, and I agree. I kind of tend to do that also. So what he would have done is he would have done add computer, and then under domain name, he would have done ugn.bobbiesworld.org, which is the fully qualified domain name for our there's a fully qualified domain name for this forest. I'm actually in the back of my head have an idea for adding another domain that will actually serve a purpose here, and we'll actually have to create like links and stuff like that for the two domains to sync in this forest. I got an idea of how I can do that. I just need to convince a friend to let me put a server in his house. Which would be the better practice? I'm not sure. You know what? I think the fully qualified domain name would be better practice. That's a good question, Blocky487. Blocky487 asks, which is kind of the better practice? I would like to think, like, I don't think you can outright. I know security people hate NetBIOS because, like, if you've hi, my AOCat. It's okay, you missed the stream. We're still struggling through it, and of course, it'll be on YouTube here, and I'll post my YouTube channel link. I thought I did RobbieRigel.com pointed to my YouTube link, or pointed to my YouTube channel here, but it does not here. So let me pull up my channel. That's switch account here to the Robbie Rigel YouTube channel here. Let me pop my channel. I almost pointed you to another channel my production company works on, which, you know, definitely is not the information you all are looking for here. So this is my YouTube channel right there. And of course, they're also on Twitch for, 14 days or something. So if you missed the stream there, you can do that. You can point that on there. I don't have enough. You need a minimum of 100 subscribers before you can set, like, you know, youtube.com/Robbie Rigel or something like that. You need a minimum of 100 subscribers before YouTube will let you do that. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. Anyways, here. So we have remoted into our second domain controller here, which, let's see if I can do this. Can I run rename computer through here? bworld-dc02. Failed to rename due to the access is denied. I'm doing this as the domain admin. I know renaming computers after they've been joined to the domain is a pain. Do I have to do that in Active Directory first? I'll have to look that up. Yeah, no, yeah, it's yeah. So MV34 says, yeah, we all know in the case of issues, it's always DNS. So best to check it works properly as early as possible. You know, that's very true of the case. Like I said, the reason why I kind of have to go in and change like the IPv6 settings of all my DNS servers is because I need things pointing to the correct DNS server. Definitely. Anyways here, so all right, so despite renaming the computer, I'll have to, unless anyone knows, are you essentially doing everything via command line, avoiding? Yeah, that's like the goal of this here, is to avoid using the command line, because the two Windows computers here, or excuse me, not so this is my primary domain. This is my first domain controller here. The other two domain controllers are nothing but server cores, which means they don't have any of the desktop GUI stuff or anything like that. So you have to do things through PowerShell. You need to create an Active Directory computer account and rename it with credentials. So okay, so I have to rename. So I have to rename it through. So I have to. Is there a? Hold on. Let me exit out of this. Is there rename AD computer? Get command AD computer. Set AD computer. I wonder if I can set AD computer. Can I change the name of that? Through set AD computer? Because it's already in Active Directory. The problem was I forgot to change the name before I added it to Active Directory here. So let's see here. Account not delegated, add hash table, allow reversible password encryption, credential description, operating system service pack, password not required, replace SAM account name, server principal names, trusted for delegation, user principal name. I prefer learning command lines. I use Linux a lot, like when we SSH to our boxes, the GUIs. I don't know. I use the GUI. You also need domain admin credentials. Yeah, I'm logged in right now as the domain admin right now. I just might use this through these things here. Yeah, and so through Linux, you can install PowerShell in Linux, and you can install PowerShell v6 in Linux, and I've done that on like one of my servers because I was restarting services a lot, and I was just like, is there but git service didn't work, so I still had to use system control, systemctl, which is the command in at least Red Hat variants of Linux. Yeah, so all these Active Directory GUIs, they basically run the PowerShell commands in the background. In fact, some of them, if I did actually here, if I run, I think here, active, this might help us here. Where are all the Active Directory? Windows Administrative Tool. If we open up the Active Directory Admin Center here, this is one of Microsoft's newer Active Directory admin GUIs here. And if you expand out down here where it says Windows PowerShell history, oops, it will show you all the PowerShell commands it's doing in the background here. So if I go over to computers here and we open up the computers object, here's my two computers that I have going here. And can I name this? Oops, what did that do? Computer. Why is it not letting me change that? Do I have to run it as? Did I forget to run this as admin? More. Run as administrator. Probably. That's a good safety check. DSA. Maybe just create an Active Directory computer account and rename it. I don't know, but I think that's actually what's supposed to be done. Yeah, if you. Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. That is how you do it. It just clicked on me. So, all right, new AD computer. So we do new AD computer, and we're going to call this bworld DC02, and that's going to create. That's going to create like a generic shell called bworld DC02. All right. Okay. Yeah. And then I should be able to enter PS session. You're right. Like the couple of, you're right. You just clicked on me here. So if I enter PS session, all right, here we'll have to go through. We'll go through the history on this because I don't want to have to type that name in. So if we go back into this computer, and I do rename computer to bworld DC02. Access denied. I am the administrator. Right? Yeah. So all right. So so maybe that didn't work. I could just. I'll fix that later in the stream. I'll fix that later off stream. I don't want to sit here and struggle. Well, maybe maybe that's what people want to see is me struggling to try and figure out how to remember how to do basic things here. But anyways, so we go over here into AD computer. So here's the bworld AD computer that I just created. Why this doesn't stay maximized is beyond me here. Let's see here. Properties. Did I forget to run this as administrator again? I don't remember if I closed it and reran it. More, run as administrator. All right. So we go back up here in our computers. We'll open up this one here, and can I rename it? No. So okay. So it's a. What if I delete that? Oh no, that'll just create all sorts of confusion because the computer will still think it's in the domain, but it won't be in the Active Directory. This I will delete though, but I'm pretty certain you're right, NV34. I think it'll definitely follow through on your YouTube series. I want to set up a virtual lab and set up a Windows network is what I wanted to set up. Yeah, this is basically what I'm doing here. I'm setting this up as you would in an office. Again, lower right-hand corner here is my GitHub stuff. I'm going to put all this stuff on the GitHub account, the scripts and everything that I write for this. It's just a little bit, until you have the domain set up and working, stuff like this is a little bit, it's a little bit more of a PETA. All right, I'm going to put that to the side here, but we're still remoted in. We're still remoted into this computer here. Oh, don't want to do that. That'll really mess things up. Let's not rename our only domain controller. All right, so we're going to clear out of that here, and we're going to set the static IP addresses here for this guy here. You can specify the creds in the rename computer command. The rename computer command, new computer domain credential. I was doing that as the domain force and restart. I was doing it as the DC admin. Thank you, Packard Goose 87 here. So if I do, so here, we'll try this one more time here. Rename computer. Yeah, no, that's right, Blocky487. You don't really get to set up a system on your own from scratch anymore. So you can specify the creds in the rename computer. Rename computer / computer name. Or no, what you're suggesting is you're doing it outside the domain here. Or outside the actual computer. So if we do rename computer, computer name is the Win ML 8 NOAU 7 H1L new name, and we're going to make this B world-DC-02. And let's see here, if Packard Goose's domain credential, and we'll just pipe that into get credential. I guess we're not piping that in, but we're going to use that. And then we're just going to do force. And I'm hesitant about doing restart because I don't want to restart the domain controller. But yeah, okay, I like the idea of using force here. So it's going to pop us up for Bobby's World Administrator. And did that work? We're going to have to give imaginary internet points to Packard Goose if this works. It's taking a lot longer than it used to. This is why you have the PowerShell command as job, and it'll do it on a separate thread. It's taking longer than it used to. Come on. All right, so I've been streaming for about 2 hours now. Once this works here, I didn't get anywhere near what I thought I was going to get done on this stream. So, hold on. With the following errors, the remote procedure server, the remote procedure call server is unavailable. So here, let's try this here. Enter PS session. So, which is weird because this is basically, this is using WinRM, not RPC server. Let's do this. And see if that. So we have the new name here. And we're still going to ask it for Bobby's World Administrator. With the following exception, that account name already exists. We're making progress here. Okay, so all we're going to do here, okay, because that computer name already exists, we're going to delete that Active Directory computer here, and look at that. There's the PowerShell command that we use right there. Remove AD object, and it basically shows the Active Directory, or excuse me, the PowerShell command that it used down there. I don't know how well you can see that. But that's what it did here. Will it allow me to copy that? Here, copy, and here, let's, yeah, it's always DNS. Okay, I thought I could copy that into there, but I just recopied my YouTube channel. It's probably not you, it's probably just Windows. Okay, all right, so we removed that object, so we're gonna press up again. I'm gonna really save this credential here. No, you want Bobby's World Administrator, and then without exception, user password name is incorrect here. Hold on, watch this here. Cred equals get credential Bobby's World Administrator, and then we're going to do my password. All right, so that saved that credential. So now if we hit up again, I'm just sick of typing this. Use the cred. Hey, there it goes. We did it. Internet points to, how do you get it to show the PowerShell explanation here? Yeah, okay, I will, did I misspell administrator? I probably did. Apparently I can't type on a stream. We've all learned that from if you've watched any 3 of my streams. So we're going to restart the computer here and then exit. And it's going to say exit wasn't ran because the computer is restarting and it broke the session here. So while that's restarting, that should have taken place here. So this is Active Directory Admin Center here. And at the very bottom here, there's always this bar that you can expand out here when it shows Windows PowerShell history. And command line breaks when more than 2 eyes look at it. So anyways here, and it shows you the commands that it's using on the background here. So all you have to do is expand this out, and actually it shows you, if you click show all here in the corner, is there a way I can magnify this at all? I can't here, but like as I kind of traversed through the directory here, it was kind of doing, it ran get AD domain controller, new PS drive here. So if I go over here now, actually, if we go in here into AD computers and we hit refresh, bworld DCO2 now exists. Here, all right. So again, the magnifier. Yeah, sysinternals I wanted to get into today. Sysinternals was some sysinternal stuff was something I wanted to get into today on this stream, but apparently 2 hours to set some things on a couple domain controllers is longer than it should when you're trying to script everything. But but if you're, again, the nice thing about using Windows Server Core is that it has less of an attack vector for a domain controller, less things you have to worry about updating, and it uses by far significantly less resources here. So here, if I open up back our Hyper-V host here, if I do git VM, these other 2 servers here, they're running with 512 megs of RAM here. This is, we're doing dynamic memory here, so it'll add, if for some reason these guys use less resources, it'll move them all along. It'll adjust, which is one of the nice things about hypervisors. Actually, there's 2 rules of thought in hypervisors here. No, I didn't have to create the computer account. It created it beforehand. Administrator, it's in the admin center. Did I misspell No, anyways. I'm sure I misspelled administrator. But anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So there's 2 rules of hypervisor thoughts. It's, you set each and every one of if this was a production server in a major production environment, you say, okay, each one of these guys is having 2 megs of RAM. All right. Or excuse me, 2 gigs of RAM, 2 megs, 2 gigs of RAM. Each one of these guys is going to have 2 gigs of RAM, and I'm not going, and that's all they're going to have. And if I need more RAM, I'm going to add more RAM to the physical hypervisor. I would say it depends on what you have running on it. If you're running, your own SQL server, maybe you want to make sure that SQL server has is not using dynamic memory for things that, are used like occasionally, or, like they'll be used a lot at one point in time and then not so much. Like your domain controllers, at the beginning of the day when people start logging in, they're going to be used a lot. But then at the end of the day, they can scale back down. And then your SQL servers and your SQL servers and your file servers and your email servers are going to take control here. Yeah, so I didn't have to change the computer account. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for joining in on the stream here. Any other questions before I sign off for the day here? Again, I'm going to pop everything up here. I'm going to do a PS transcript now, for now on, from the beginning of the stream here. So it'll put out in, so again, if I go to, oh, really? I don't want app data. I think it's documents. So, okay, so I started a PS transcript here. And for the PowerShell, or excuse me, for the Linux guys who've been watching the stream here, PowerShell has a lot of things aliased to your favorite Linux commands. That's why you'll see me like using ls, because I kind of got out of the habit of using dir, which also works, and so does git. It's also git child item is also the exact same thing. Anyways, so I'll do cat. It's zero length because I'm still running the transcript. Stop ps. So if I do stop ps or is it end ps transcript? End ps transcript here. Or it's end transcript. Or okay, git command. Let's stop transcript. There you go. And then if we go back in here, and we can do cat PowerShell transcript, this is a list of everything that I did, including the errors that I did while on the stream here. So if you're like, what PowerShell command did he use there? You can grep this, search through it, or whatnot, and it says, when I ended the transcript and everything like that. And then, when I took a PowerShell class, I actually took a PowerShell class at the local community college, and this is basically how we handed in our homework. Start transcript, then when we finished, and then it was just basically like, I think there's upload file. No, we used it's something. There is an upload file PowerShell command. It escapes off my head right now, but that'll be it for the stream here. Again, next week or Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Chicago Central Time, which is I think 1:30 a.m. Universal Time. Hop on. We'll get a lot more of these domain controllers going and up and running, and we'll talk about domain controllers and FSMO roles and all that fun stuff. So if you want homework, which I don't which maybe you do, maybe you don't, download this guy here. This is the Active Directory technical specification. If you wanted like the Microsoft's official instruction manual on how Active Directory works, it's in here. It's everything you've ever wanted to know. It's in here, and then it also references other Microsoft technical specifications. But if you wanted to, this is what programmers go to if they wanted to create an Active Directory application. Well, that's it for the stream. Again, thank you all for watching. Like, subscribe, ring bells, follow. Whatever it is you do on all of these things here, to keep in tune here, head on over to the if you didn't come here from our home lab here, homelab.reddit.com will take you to the HomeLab subreddit, where I've actually seen a couple of things people have posted that I'm going to borrow for the stream here. I saw it and I clipped it to my OneNote. My OneNote I've got a whole bunch of stuff here to try and to set up in my HomeLab here, which hopefully we'll be able to do here. All right, and hopefully I'll get better at streaming here, and I'll keep my ums to a minimum, because I don't sysadmin aloud very often. Maybe I should start doing that at work, and then people will really think I'm weird. All right, I'm cutting off again. Thank you all for viewing and watching.